When I was still relatively newly married, my then husband and I moved into a townhouse-style apartment. Our apartment spanned the second and third floors of the building, while the management office and mailbox area sat almost directly below us on the ground level. This detail, insignificant at first, would later become crucial. The woman who managed the building was an older lady who had no regard for property upkeep. Most days, she could be found chain-smoking Camel non-filters in her dingy office, exuding a palpable aura of malice and hate. She despised us, claiming we had lied about my pregnancy to secure the townhouse, as she didn't want tenants with children. Her disdain extended to my husband as well, making cruel remarks about his race. She was a real peach, truly. After our kiddo was born, I became a stay-at-home mum, busy keeping the house clean and the baby entertained. With no car and no local mum friends, our days were simple and repetitive. One winter afternoon, after lunch, the baby needed a bath. Anyone who's fed a 9-month-old knows the mess that follows. I went upstairs and ran the tub, placing the baby in one of those suction cup bath seats. The middle of winter brought its own challenges. We had no heat. It was an issue I'd been fighting Rachel the landlord about for a while, alongside other maintenance problems like the arcing ceiling fan and the garbage disposal barely held together with duct tape. We relied on space heaters to keep the chill at bay, one of which I had brought into the bathroom. Standing in the bathtub, getting ready to lift the baby out, I suddenly noticed the space heater on the counter start to rock back and forth. It had been stable moments before. A terrible feeling of dread washed over me as I stared at the heater. I knew I couldn't get both of us out in time. Reacting purely on instinct, I grabbed the baby seat, pulled it up, and dropped the baby over the side of the tub to the bathroom floor, just as the heater reached the end of its cord. It thumped into the shower door, bounced off the tub's edge, and landed on its side, shutting off automatically. I looked over to the corner of the bathroom. The room seemed to fill with shadows, growing darker without any change in lighting, windows, or smoke. The air thickened with the distinct acrid smell of Camel non-filters, a scent I knew all too well from Rachel's office. The smoke was so dense it made me cough and my chest ache, yet no haze was visible. I felt an overwhelming sensation of hatred and malice, like someone was standing there glaring at me with intense fury. Panicked, I grabbed the baby and a towel and fled downstairs. I was so terrified I couldn't bring myself to return. I used diapers from the diaper bag, kept the baby wrapped in the towel, and stayed huddled up to stay warm. I remained downstairs for the rest of the day, unable to look up the stairs at the bathroom without a shiver of fear. When my husband finally came home and asked why the baby wasn't dressed, I told him about the heater and the smoke. Skeptical, he went upstairs to check, assuming it was yet another maintenance issue. But there was no electrical damage, no smoke, no cigarette smell. The heater, back on the counter, was as stable as ever. He laughed it off, dismissing my fear. Later that day, we heard Rachel's adult son downstairs near the mailboxes, yelling at the top of his lungs. That's when we learned the truth. Rachel had suffered a massive heart attack in her office earlier that day. Her son found her dead in her chair, a Camel non-filter still clutched in her hand. The townhouse never felt the same after that. Every time I looked at the bathroom, I felt her presence, a lingering shadow of hatred and malice. We moved out as soon as we could, leaving behind the haunted townhouse and the ghost of a hateful old woman who refused to let us be.